Hello, this is Celeste of Astrology by Celeste, and I wanted to do a video tonight about the Hamas attack on Israel and Israel declaring war because it's really, I mean, horrific, but an example of the astrology in action that is going on right now. And yeah, so number one, I'm having a workshop tomorrow. If you hear this in time, that I'll present about the solar eclipse in Libra that's happening on October 14th. This attack is part of the solar eclipse for Israel. And yeah, and also on October 22nd, I'm having a free event where I'm going to talk about the astrology signs as mirrors. So you can sign up at either event at my website, astrologybyceleste.com. But I want to make this snappy, but let me present share my screen. And let's see, entire screen. Okay, I hope I'm doing this right. Okay, yes. Okay, so great. Let's start with, okay. Let's start with this. Sorry, with this StreamYard, the two screens, I get confused. Anyway, so here you can see the third quarter moon that we had yesterday set in Israel. When you don't know the exact time of an event, you can just use the third quarter moon, and it explains, really what is going on in this story. A big part of the story, the timing, is that Mars, the planet of war, is squaring Pluto, which is a higher octave of Mars in the sky right now. So Mars square Pluto is brutality, intensity, fighting, conflict on steroids. Now, we can always use these energies in positive ways. A lot of athletes have Mars square Pluto. It's like it can give someone a super determined drive to succeed in competition. Mars rules competition, but it also is so symbolic of war. And the astrology this week had been, we had Mars conjunct the South Node on Wednesday, and the South Node is a cosmic drain. It's considered malefic. Mars is malefic in itself and is in detriment in fall in the sign of Libra. It doesn't like to be in Libra. It doesn't do its Libra stuff well, and it's approaching a square, and the square perfects tomorrow in Pluto. So the timing is literally related to this aspect, this transit. But also, I'm already getting off track. Okay, let's just look at Israel's chart with this. So with the timing of it, of this attack. Yeah, so there's a lot of things that jump out about this. So Israel is a Libra rising, and you see their rising sign is right here at 23 degrees of Libra, and the South Node is right at their ascendant. And the South Node makes a big sucking sound. As I said, it's malefic. Mars and the South Node met on the ascendant of Israel. So it's the health and vitality of the country when we're looking at a mundane chart. And Mars attacks. So you can see Mars, an attack launched on the country. And a big thing that and it's been called it's being called they are 9/11 because there's such a failure of intelligence. Like, how did this happen? And they did not know about it. And I want you to think about all of the astrology that has been going on over the last several months, which I talk about weekly on my podcast, Celestial Insights, as well as on Instagram. And yeah, so Venus went retrograde at 28 degrees of of Leo on July 22nd and through September 3rd. And when a planet goes retrograde, there are delays and reversals, a collapse of things contemplated. It's like it doesn't work, it doesn't express its energy well. And Venus is the chart ruler for for Israel, and Venus stationed to go retrograde on the Mars of the country in its 11th house. So I don't want to get too into the politics because I don't know. What I know about it could be put in a thimble, but my understand is that there is a lot of internal conflict and strife in Israel because the current leadership, Netanyahu, is this hardliner. He's trying to push through these judicial appointments to wrest power away from, make it, it's being accused of making it less of the democracy. I don't know. But anyway, there's a lot of infighting in the country. And like Venus on its Mars, and because it's a day chart, Mars is the greater malefic. It's almost gives the impression of, you know, the like fighting oneself, I feel like, with the chart ruler on Mars. And you can see their natal Venus is in the 9th house. So you look, when a planet goes retrograde, you don't just look to where it's retrograding in your chart. You also look to where the planet is natally. So they have Venus natally at 4 degrees of Cancer here in the 9th house. So the 9th house rules legal affairs, and this is one of a big part of the conflict. Also with this 11th house, I wonder if their parliament, I don't even know what it's called, has been fighting. But their chart ruler being retrograde suggests that they were in a weakened state. Now, I am a Taurus, and so Venus rules my sun sign. And yeah, I got sick during the Venus retrograde. I just came back from speaking at a conference in the Palm, like Borrega Springs, that's like the desert, and I didn't put sunscreen on my body because, you know, I don't really need it. I didn't think. I come back and my arms and my legs are peeling, even though I didn't spend that much time in the sun. So yeah, like the Venus clears its shadow in a couple of days and then moves into the next sign. So we're still experiencing Venus retrograde events. And a big thing about Venus, when it entered the sign of Leo, it opposed Pluto. And the moon in Leo's, the moon in mundane astrology represents the people. So that transit, you know, when it entered the sign, you can cast a chart and it gives you insight into what is going on, what's going to be coming up. And Venus opposite Pluto, a planet of brutality and all of this. You can think about that and the higher octave, you know, intensity and war sort of thing. And when Venus went retrograde, it was in a and it's back to within a degree of when it went retrograde. King comes Pluto, brutality, and Neptune. So you can think about Neptune being like a lack of information. Neptune and Pisces, like they had no idea that this was happening. They had no intelligence about it, and the state is being decimated. And now is literally Mars, King comes Pluto, like moved into a new situation of being at war, and the timing with the Mars square Pluto right at their IC at the fourth house cusp. The fourth house is like the land of a country. It also speaks to rebels and the people opposing the government, and a lot of the people I expect like live in Israel who attacked it, even though they're part of this Hamas group. Yes, but it makes total sense. So when you are a person, when your ascendant is eclipsed, it can be a time where you are feeling a little weak. You have to pay extra attention to your health. This time, sometimes naturally, people just start health regimes in order to improve their health. If anything comes up, you need to go to the doctor. Yeah, so the fact that we're having the south nodes on their ascendant and the eclipse on October 14th is at 21 degrees of Libra really speaks to the timing of this event. And you see Pluto's at their IC and Neptune's at their sixth house. And the sixth house rules illness and servants. And yeah, you can think about it also, Neptune. I think sometimes it can have to do with the military. And so anyway, like the active troops, not the leadership. So it's the people who serve the country. So you can think about how Israel's ascendant, the south node is draining their vitality, and the north node, which is gains, is on the cusp of the seventh house. And the seventh house is the house of our partners, our allies, but it's also the house of open enemies. So that makes a perfect sense. And I had mentioned that I thought this was going to be an important last quarter moon because the sun is on the sun of the United States at 13 degrees of Libra. So this is going to, I mean, this has huge geopolitical implications. It's such a huge attack. It's not just the standard, attack. I mean, thousands of people are injured in Israel now. Israel's retaliating, and probably the majority of people being hurt are going to be, innocent Palestinian citizens. And yeah, it's just horrific, brutal. We've seen images that are unbelievable. This poor woman being dragged out of the back of a truck, and it looks like she's been sexually assaulted. She's bleeding profusely. I mean, it's just horrific and horrible. Children have been kidnapped. Old women have been kidnapped. Yeah, it's just horrible. And a part of they didn't know anything about it. Mercury went retrograde in Virgo, a very strong sign that Mercury likes to be at home in Virgo. And now it's moved into the sign of Libra, but in Israel's 12th house of hidden enemies as well as self-undoing. So Mercury can criticize and destabilize. And in Libra rules our allies. So you can think about the two political parties, or however many there are in Israel, fighting amongst each other. That's Mercury in Libra. And Mercury is King Kong's Saturn. So they're harming themselves by squabbling amongst themselves and totally miss the intelligence. This is my take on it. Miss the intelligence about this attack because maybe people were directed to different things. One thing I was listening to, there's something lacking in the on the ground people, relying too much on technology and not on intelligence. Yeah, it's maybe that's what some talking head was speculating, but you can really see it with this the Venus retrograde cycle. Also, Uranus is on the sun of Israel in the 8th house of death, literally. And Uranus brings shocks and awe, sudden attacks, sudden events that seem to go out of nowhere on the sun. And the sun is the identity of a country or a person or what have you. And it is Yeah, it is within a degree. So we're looking at things within a degree. We're also seeing Jupiter on their north node in the seventh house of open enemies. Like, where did all these weapons come from? Likely Iran. And I was reading something where someone was speculating maybe the U.S. gave Iran all this money back in exchange for hostages, and how much of that was used to fund this attack. Yeah. So yeah, the United States is also in some, potentially hot water. This is all about like alliances potentially crumbling with Spica, the fixed star that is about, it's at 24 Libra. It will be here when we have the eclipse. The south node on Spica. Spica is common around people or organizations or whatever when that have big money. Israel has done very well financially. Yeah. And it's being eclipsed. So seeing people who have lots of awards or honors having a fall with the south node has a connotation of falling from a height is also possible. Yeah. And so I wanted to look at the United States as well with this last quarter moon. And we can see, uh, yeah, okay. So the moon is on the sun of the United States, exactly, which is why I said there was going to be some story. Plus, the sun is on our Saturn. Saturn brings hardship, it's consequences, maybe of, this hostage swap potentially. It's very visible in the 10th house. Mercury's at our midheaven. Mercury in Libra, news from an ally. Venus is in our ninth house. Ninth house rules long distance places, far away places. It's overseas. The ninth house overseas stuff. Yeah, or just foreign stuff is the ninth house. And Venus quincunx our Pluto, and the United States is in our Pluto return. So the actions that we've taken having karmic consequences. And yeah, so who's going to pay for all this? Is there going to be an expectation we are going to provide a lot of stuff for Israel in terms of weapons and things like that? The world just feels so unstable with everything that's going on between, what's going on in Africa, in Armenia, in Ukraine, now Israel. It's really, really unstable. And so our 10th house is being eclipsed with the eclipse that's coming up. Yeah. And you can look at Israel with this eclipse. And I really feel like, where's Israel? Yeah. Israel with the eclipse. You can see, and I talked about this. I did a workshop, a webinar for Kepler, and I was like, how is Mercury opposite Chiron at this eclipse going to show up? And the thing about Mercury at this eclipse, the eclipse is on the outside, is that Mercury's combust. It's hidden under the rays of the sun. Mercury combusts, a planet combusts, suggests, combustion is just a measure of how close a planet is to the sun. It's 7 or is it 8? It's around 8 degrees on either side. You are combust if you're that close to the sun. And Mercury's going into the heart of the sun to be reborn and go out of combustion. But in combustion, there is this sense of dying symbolism, but also invisibility. So all of the plans that were being hatched about this attack were invisible in the 12th house of hidden things and combust the sun. And yeah, so you can really feel that energy of that. At the eclipse, Venus has moved into Virgo, which is the sign of her fall, which also suggests as a Libra rising that there's a, you can see this. Oh my God, it's 5. You can see it's separating from its conjunction to Saturn 5 degrees away. Now the eclipse is 7 degrees from 7 degrees. Yeah, this is about a 6 degree, 6 degrees away from the opposition. So you could just see Venus opposite Saturn, like moving away from this wound is what's going on at the eclipse. And what else did I want to say about this? Oh, I was reading that the war 50 years ago was when Israel had their last big war with that had the same level of intensity as this one now. 50 years is a Chiron return. So this is the Chiron. It's Mercury opposite Chiron, and Israel is a bit in about its Chiron return of that last big war 50 years ago. And Mercury opposite Chiron. Mercury announces, it destabilizes, it criticizes on the shadow. The shadow energies. It's all about communication. It's all about, Mercury. And Mercury combust is a very weakened Mercury and hidden Mercury. So you can see that as well. Yeah, and I don't know if I said it, Jupiter, they're getting all kinds of wealth and assets and resources from their enemy is getting all kinds of wealth and assets from other countries. Yeah, likely Iran. There was reports that people were speaking Farsi that were doing these attacks. So anyway, I just thought I would share that about, is there anything else I want to say about this? That's attack. But this is eclipses. Eclipses bring events, things rush in suddenly, and especially with the South Node solar eclipse, you may have to take actions that, because it was initiated by someone outside of yourself, requiring you to take immediate actions to deal with an unexpected thing that comes up. This is what can happen in eclipse season, and we are in it. We had the full moon in Aries last week, and now the solar eclipse is next weekend. But anytime there's a moon activation, about a hard aspect, the new quarter, first quarter, last quarter, or full moon, you can look at that chart and see the nature of what may be coming up in the event. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. Sorry, I'm a little tired. It's late here. I need to go to bed, but just reading all about this and seeing that this is an eclipse event, and Libra rules peace, and the South Node conjunct the new moon eclipse in Libra, sucking peace out. It's pretty awful. And yeah, all the innocent people, whether they're Palestinian or Israeli, it's heartbreaking that, the powers that be make decisions that impact all of us that we have no control over or limited control over. And, these horrific things happen. And and it's Mars square Pluto. It's textbook Mars square Pluto, really big, a lot of brutality. And at the lunar eclipse, Mercury and Mars are conjunct in the sign of Scorpio. Scorpio is the sniper. I'll just show the chart. Oh, very quickly. Uh, and you can see it with Israel. When I saw this, it was like the first thing I thought was, so Israel with the eclipse was like with this Mercury and Mars conjunct on the south node of Israel. Yeah, you can think about the sneak attack. Scorpio is the sniper who attacks with precision. The eclipses work together, and you can see events coming in 6 weeks ahead, and sometimes even more, that are related to the eclipse. And you can see that. Is there anything else? What do they have at? Oh, the moon. The people of Israel are, the eclipse is squaring the moon, and Scorpio, death. Yeah. Scorpio, you can think about, violence and death and all of this kind of stuff, on the shadow energies of that. And you can think about, yeah, the moon, about resources, about land. This is why this fight has been going on for decades. And yeah, it's just horrific. But I hope you found this interesting and helpful, just to understand the timing of the event. I talk a lot about the fixed star Algol, which is the most feared fixed star in the heavens at 26 Taurus. It's violence, catastrophes when it's activated. It is going to be active for a couple of years with Uranus conjunct Algol. So we are in for a lot of unexpected events and chaos and things like that, just coming seemingly out of nowhere. So all we can do is keep ourselves safe, and yeah, I'll be here to report on what comes up. Okay, take good care of yourself, and I hope everyone watching has a peaceful eclipse season.